5:47 a.m. Kitchen. Phone in hand, heart already racing, reading about something with absolutely zero control over it. No coffee yet. And the realization hit that this had been happening every single morning for months. Not out of desire, but out of compulsion. Like something vital might have happened overnight, and the world could have shifted in those small hours when nobody was watching. You know this feeling. You scan the headlines, searching for the one sentence that confirms your deepest fear, that the world as you knew it is finally ending. You see the names of places that feel like they are tilting on an edge: Ukraine, Gaza, Taiwan, Iran. You read about the doomsday clock moving to 89 seconds to midnight. Historians are now suggesting we are living inside a watershed moment that mirrors the tension of the 1850s, a time when the very fabric of society felt like it was tearing at the seams. And it is not just happening in distant lands. Serious voices are warning about the fracturing of the European Union and growing internal divisions within the United States that some analysts are comparing to pre-Civil War conditions. The idea of domestic instability, of the structures we assumed were permanent beginning to crack, is no longer confined to fringe conversations. It is entering mainstream discourse. But today, the battlefield isn't just a physical map of some distant front line. It is your attention span. It is your grocery list. This is not just a crisis. It is the end of the normal. And nobody is giving you a framework for how to live through it. So that is what this video is going to do. We are going to look at the exact mechanisms your brain is using to process this constant dread, and more importantly, the specific things you can lean on to stay grounded when the headlines try to sweep you away. And if you stay until the end, there's a free guide that goes even deeper into the hidden internal pattern behind all of this, one that most people have never had explained to them before. You are not broken. You are not weak. You are simply running a powerful mind without a manual. Consider this, that manual. The first thing you need to understand is that your brain has a biological, almost reptilian reaction to the information you consume every day. Your amygdala, the ancient survival center of your brain, is constantly scanning the world for threats, the same way a lizard watches the sky for a hawk. And here's the problem. For-profit news organizations are not in the business of presenting a balanced view of reality. They are in the business of activating this exact part of your brain, because when your amygdala fires, you feel an intense primal urgency that keeps you clicking, keeps you scrolling, and keeps generating revenue for them. When the threat is a lion, this system works beautifully. You run, you survive, and the threat ends. But a headline is not a lion. A headline is a maybe that never resolves, a threat that exists in a future you cannot outrun. And when this trigger happens not once, but every single morning, your system shifts into a survival mode that was never designed to last for months or years. Your heart rate rises, your muscles tense, you feel mentally overloaded, like your internal tank is running on empty before the day is even started. This is true chronic stress, the persistent feeling of being worn out emotionally and physically, while nothing in your immediate environment has actually changed. That is not a character flaw. That is a rational nervous system responding to an irrational volume of threat signals. You are being hunted by an algorithm that was engineered to farm your survival instinct for profit. But you can choose to run your own brain instead of letting the fear run you. We also have to understand that the nature of conflict itself has changed. Experts call it fifth-generation warfare, and it does not look like what most people imagine. Most people think a modern conflict would look like a cinematic explosion, fighter jets, dramatic sirens, but the reality is far more subtle than that. It looks like eggs costing $9. It looks like your favorite brand of coffee disappearing from the shelf for 3 weeks and then quietly coming back at a higher price.
It looks like heating bills doubling in a single winter with no clear explanation. Think of it as the slow erosion of the ordinary, the things you never thought twice about. Affordable groceries, cheap flights, products available year-round start quietly vanishing, and nobody sounds an alarm because each disappearance on its own seems minor. But when you zoom out and look at the pattern, you realize the ground beneath everyday life has been shifting for months. In a globalized society, the first sign of instability is rarely a siren. It is the gradual breakdown of the supply chains and economic rhythms that held normal life together. The war for your peace of mind has already started, and it started in your grocery store and on your social media feed.
This realization can feel overwhelming because you look at it and you feel completely powerless. You cannot stop a global escalation. You cannot control the decisions being made in rooms you will never enter. Whether it is a conflict overseas, economic sanctions rippling through your local economy, or the slow unraveling of political alliances that once felt permanent, none of it is within your reach. And when you focus on things that are genuinely out of your control, you spiral into a state of helplessness that feeds on itself. To break that cycle, you have to do something very deliberate. Clarity and action are the natural antidotes to anxiety. Grab a piece of paper right now if you can, and draw a line down the middle. On the left side, write down everything that is weighing on you that you genuinely cannot control. On the right side, write down everything you can. You cannot stop a war. You cannot prevent a political fracture, but you can control your own preparedness. You can control your own peace. And once you see that list clearly, pour every ounce of your energy into the right side and release the left. That control starts with the foundation, the non-negotiable rocks of your mental resilience. These are the things you have absolute authority over no matter what is happening in the world. Adequate sleep, nourishing food, and physical movement. Sleep is your fuel. Without it, your amygdala becomes even more reactive, which means the headlines hit harder, the dread spirals faster, and your ability to think clearly collapses. Movement is how you discharge the pent-up energy of anxiety. It does not have to be a gym session or a 5-mile run. Even a simple walk around the block can function as a form of active mindfulness. And here's a technique to try tonight. While you walk, focus entirely on the sensation of right foot, left foot. Feel the ground beneath you. When your mind wanders back to the news, back to the dread, gently bring your attention back to the physical rhythm of your steps. Right foot, left foot. This grounding sends a direct signal to your nervous system that, in this exact moment, you are safe. Your body cannot be in fight or flight and grounded presence at the same time. You are choosing which one wins. That is how you reclaim one moment. Now let's talk about reclaiming the other 23 hours. Beyond your physical body, you need to take control of your digital environment with the same intentionality. There is a critical difference between being informed and being consumed. Check the news at set times, maybe once at lunch, and never allow it to be the first thing you see when you open your eyes in the morning. Set time limits on your social media apps. Unfollow the sensationalist accounts that exist solely to trigger your alarm system. Use your phone to catch up on facts from trusted educational sources, rather than scrolling through commentary that feeds your fear. Every time you do this, you are showing the algorithm that you are not interested in the panic. You are retraining the machine that has been retraining your brain. And alongside limiting the negative input, intentionally seek out evidence that the world is not only falling apart. Because here's something that will surprise you. In 1990, nearly 4 out of every 10 human beings on Earth lived in extreme poverty. Today, that number is below 1 in 10. That is the single largest reduction in human suffering in the history of our species, and almost nobody knows about it because it happened gradually, without explosions, without breaking news banners.
We never see headlines about the wars that didn't happen or the diseases that got eradicated while we were doom-scrolling. But those facts are just as real as the tragedies. The algorithm has a negativity bias. Reality does not. Actively seeking out what is working in the world is not naive optimism. It's a correction for a distorted lens.
Now, everything shared so far is about managing the input, what comes at you from the outside. But there is a second layer that most people completely miss, and it is the layer that actually determines whether you stay stuck in this cycle or start breaking free from it. It is what your brain does with that input once it is already inside. This is the core of what gets explored through the Anxiety Enigma.
A dedicated team of researchers and specialists focused on one thing:
Understanding why your mind gets trapped in these loops and building structured, practical methods to get out. Everything published through the Anxiety Enigma, the frameworks, the guides, the programs, exists to bridge the gap between knowing you are anxious and actually knowing how to change it. And here is what keeps emerging from that work. The way anxiety escalates from a single headline into a full-body spiral is not random. It follows a specific, predictable sequence. And once you can see that sequence clearly, you can actually interrupt it before it takes over your entire day. There is a free guide that maps out exactly how that spiral works, phase by phase, and reveals the 3 specific windows where the cycle can be broken before it completes. It is called The Anatomy of an Anxiety Spiral. The link is in the description, and it is also available at theanxietyenigma.com. Grabbing it after this video is genuinely worth it because it picks up exactly where we are about to leave off, and it will change the way you understand what is happening inside your own head.
Now back to the practical tools you can use right now. One of the most powerful things you can do when the dread feels paralyzing is to take the energy of your anxiety and channel it into action that is directly in front of you. If you feel helpless watching the world fracture, give back to the world you can actually touch: your local community, your neighbor, the person behind you in line who looks like they are carrying something heavy. Perform micro actions of kindness, not because they solve the global crisis, but because they restore your sense of being a force for good in a world that keeps telling you everything is bad. Kindness to a stranger is often the only thing we can control during chaotic times, and it serves as a powerful reminder that there is still light in the world, even now. And finally, find your people. Anxiety thrives in isolation. It gets louder when you are alone with it at 2 in the morning, scrolling through worst-case scenarios with no one to pull you back to reality. But it weakens noticeably and quickly when you connect with others. Reach out to your friends, call your family, not to solve the world's problems, but to simply share a quiet moment with someone who reminds you that you are not going through this alone. Building a local circle of people you trust, a small tribe you talk to regularly about what you are seeing and feeling, is a far more effective form of preparedness than any bunker in the woods. Socializing, maintaining your personal values, and staying rooted in your community are the most underrated tools for navigating uncertainty.
The goal of all of this is not to become someone who ignores the threat. It is to become someone who acknowledges the threat and then prepares, who takes care of their focus, their body, and their people. You are living through something human beings were never designed for: constant, unlimited access to every crisis on Earth, delivered right into your pocket 24 hours a day. Your anxiety is not a malfunction. It is a signal that you are paying attention. The question is not how to stop caring. It is how to keep living while you care. The future may be uncertain. The ordinary comforts we built our lives around may be quietly disappearing. But tonight, right now, you are here. Not in the blast radius, not in the crossfire. You are in your room, in your life, in the irreplaceable present moment. And the act of facing this kind of existential uncertainty and still choosing to make dinner, still calling a friend, still planning for next week, that is the most courageous thing a human being can do. By reclaiming your attention from the algorithm, you gain something far more valuable than information. You gain the ability to lead yourself and your family through the end of normal with a clear head and a steady hand. Take a deep breath. You are still here. And for today, that is enough.